from this angle is beautiful.
Welcome to Ballaholics, the show for those who simply can't get enough basketball. Today we're going to be talking about several topics. We have the Yankees. They advanced. They got the brooms out. Heard they swept the divisional series.
The twins, bro.
Addition, we'll be talking about our stand-in for the NBA season. Who do we think is going to come out of the West at the top?
We already know. We know.
And in the East, and the order in which they do so. Big difference. And lastly, we're going to talk a little bit about fantasy football.
Get you guys some fantasy starters. You guys can start next week, and then you'll look really smart. But the only reason you did well is because of us. You thank us.
Yeah, it's fine. It's our gift to you. And we don't talk about fantasy much, but I mean, it seems like an interesting topic. But on our first thing, the Yankees sweeping the Twins.
We got the broomsticks out. They
got the broomsticks out. What's your thoughts on that?
Here's what I got from the Yankees defeating the Minnesota Twins in 3 games. Now they're advancing to the American League Conference Championship, where they're likely to face the Houston Astros. Let's just say that.
Right.
And here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to break down to you the Yankees, how they win. What's their recipe for success? So when I look at the New York Yankees, they went all in. The GM, Brian Cashman, he went all in on the batting. That's the recipe for success for him. That's my recipe for success, but it's really Brian Cashman's recipe.
Yeah.
I'm just
You take it in
I'm
now.
just pointing it out. And look, during the trade deadline, he got a lot. There was a lot of hate over not trying to trade for a pitcher. He didn't trade for a pitcher,
right?
And it was a very unpopular move. Instead of going for a pitcher, an ace, he actually traded for Edwin Encarnacion from the Mariners. And when I looked at that trade, in hindsight, they really could have used the pitcher. But, they have sluggers in the Bronx. If you go down this lineup, let's go down this lineup. Giancarlo Stanton, Aaron Judge, Edwin Encarnacion. Did we forget Didi Gregorius, who had a grand slam, Game 2? And, Encarnacion, that move paid dividends. Game 1 and 2 against the Twins, guess what? He was responsible for the first run in each of those games.
Yeah.
What I love about the Yankees and what they do to opposing teams is that they really put the opposing pitchers through hell because they have so little margin for error because their entire lineup consists of all heavy, top all-stars. Some teams are lucky to get 1 or 2 of those players.
But
the Yankees, their entire lineup is like that.
That's ridiculous.
Looking at Game 1 with Gleyber Torres, bases is loaded, and he gets a hit, towards third base and brings in a couple runs there. Then you look at Game 2, Edwin and Didi Gregorius hit a grand slam, bases were loaded. The Minnesota Twins, they tried switching the pitcher in the 3rd inning, and they were like, now we're going to be okay.
Good idea.
But no, because Didi Gregorius said, you know what, screw you, I don't care about your pitching change. He went right in, hit a grand slam in Game 2, and that momentum just carried over.
Oh, 100%. And I like what your point is, Sam. I think sometimes you got to find a niche and just go all the way in. And they did that with Hidden. They could have improved their pitching, people say that, but
so here's my
their
thing.
hidden strength is ridiculous.
When it comes to pitching, most teams you have to have amazing pitchers throughout a playoff series, through the playoff series. The thing is with the Yankees is that their batting is so good. They invested so much in their core competency. That's what we call it. We call it,
you're going business terms.
I gotta bring in the business terms. I gotta bring in the business terms here. And that's when we learn about the core competencies of a firm or a company. But the Yankees' core competency is their hitting. They are sluggers. And instead of trying to compensate for instead of trying to improve their weakness, they just embraced their strength so much that it doesn't even matter.
Screw the weakness. We're gonna invest our strength so heavily. Now they have a competitive advantage.
Exactly.
Whoa,
and look,
another business term.
In terms of the pitching, Masahiro Tanaka, he was brilliant in Game 2. Only allowing 1 run in 5 innings. I think that's fine. And then obviously Game 3, Luis Severino, you scared me a little bit, in the beginning because bases were loaded. You were a little bit of a logjam. It was a huge logjam. But the magician he is, he got them out of the jam, and after that they were fine. So when I'm looking, to the series coming, the Houston Astros, because it's inevitably going to be the Houston Astros. The one thing I'm nervous about is can the Yankee sluggers come through with their aces? Justin Verlander.
I know how you're going to
shut them down. A couple years ago.
Yeah.
And then you have, Zach Greinke. So I feel like the longer that the Houston Astros series goes, the more rest the Yankees players get, and the better they're going to be facing in, going to the Houston Astros series.
Yeah, pitcher fatigue is real. So if they're able to get advantage for that, I mean, I think that'll be huge too. Because, like you said, Justin Verlander is like no joke. I mean, like Twins pitchers, they're good, but like you look at the Astros and their strength is their pitching. So it's kind of interesting seeing the strength of the pitching against the strength of the hitting. And I guess we'll see who wins out.
All I'm gonna say is when it comes to the Yankees pitching, like James Paxton, like you scared me a little bit, because like James Paxton. He's okay, but he has a lot of first inning woes. Like he's actually number 1 ranked in the entire MLB of home runs allowed.
Oof.
It was 12. So that's something that's scary. That's a red flag. So I just feel like to sum it all up, Yankees. The Yankee sluggers. It's like a volcano. It's like waiting for a volcano to erupt because once it erupts, one player hits one. It just keeps going. It is so fun. I mean, DJ LeMahieu, I didn't even know who you were at first. I went to a game this summer. I'm like, DJ LeMahieu, who? And he just hit a home run the game I went to, in the regular season. Hit a home run, obviously, one of the games. I can't remember which one.
That's pretty cool.
And I'm just so excited to, keep watching the Yankees. I hope this is their year, but we will see in due time. Next segment, we have our NBA standings. NBA season, is already upon us. So me and Sauce actually, you guys are in for a special treat because we actually created, our own projected standings, Eastern Conference and Western Conference.
Yeah, we did.
So let's take a look at Sauce's standings first.
Okay, you want me to do my Eastern, Western, or my Eastern or my Western standings first?
Let's do East. Let's compare. Actually, we're gonna compare both of our Eastern Conference standings, right?
Okay. Well, I'll go straight to the East. East, I don't think there will be much controversy here. I don't know Sam's list yet, so I'm hoping that we're on the same page. But I'll start. The number 1 seed will be the Philadelphia 76ers. I don't know why he's laughing, but I mean that's just a fact. Then I have the Bucks as a 2 seed, the Pacers as a 3rd seed, the Raptors as a 4th seed, the Celtics as a 5th seed, the Magic as a 6th seed, the Heat as a 7th seed, and the Nets as the 8th seed.
What makes you go with the Philadelphia 76ers first?
The 76ers, I mean, you gotta be kidding me. That defensive lineup, I don't think you can put any team but the Sixers in for the first place. I mean, of course the Bucks are still there, and they won 60 games last season, but they lost a few players. I'm trying to blank on his name right now. Mr. 50-40-90, Brogdon. They lost Brogdon, which was a huge loss. You have questions about if they're gonna rest Giannis, which I think they should, so that he's not gassed for the playoffs. He was good in the playoffs, but they rely on him a lot. They need a lot of he's gonna need a lot of stamina for the things. And I think straight up the 76ers have a great defensive lineup. I mean, I know we talked about length last time, and the Bucks have length too, but the 76ers have incredible height on their team. They have all defensive-minded players. When you're looking at Tobias Harris being your worst defender, and he's an average defender, that's a pretty solid lineup. And then you have Horford and Embiid. I like the combo. I think it actually is going to work perfectly. Horford could stretch out the floor. Even Embiid could do a little stretching. He shoots 30% from 3. I think 76ers got it. Bucks are obviously no joke. I think they have to be the 2nd seed. I mean, at least the top 2 seed.
Okay, so
I'm guessing you have the Bucks for the 1st seed.
So if you guys haven't seen already my standings, I have the 76ers number 4. My standings are like this. My Eastern Conference standings. Number 1, we have the Milwaukee Bucks. Okay. The Boston Celtics as number 2. The Indiana Pacers number 3. Philadelphia 76ers 4. So
that's actually ridiculous.
The Miami Heat number 5. Brooklyn Nets, followed by the Toronto Raptors and Orlando as the 7th and 8th seed. So look, let me get to the Philadelphia 76ers first, because I know you're all
I have no problem with the lineup.
I know you love them so much. You really,
and the Celtics too.
But I'm sorry, because fans like you can be so disappointed when the season comes.
I'm not gonna be disappointed.
Here's the thing. Here's the problem I have with the Philadelphia 76ers. Number 1, everyone's acting like Jimmy Butler didn't exist last season. The reason why the Philadelphia 76ers were able to get so far in the playoffs is because of Jimmy Butler.
But we're talking regular season.
Jimmy Butler is their playoff performer. And look, I know that. Can I finish talking, please?
We're talking about the regular season.
Jimmy Butler is someone that you need to get through the regular season. Not going to dispute what you said at the playoffs, but Jimmy Butler's a clutch scorer. So in close games in the regular season and in the playoffs, you need him. He is your number 1 player. He's the player that you lean upon. Then you go ahead and you hand Tobias Harris a 5-year, $180 million deal, which is the richest contract in 76ers history, when Tobias Harris is your 3rd best player? Someone explain it to me. Explain it to me.
It's questionable, and I would definitely say I'm not a big fan of the contract. I don't think you really could be a big fan of the contract. I think they're put in a hard position where they had to get Jimmy Butler or Tobias. If they lost both, their whole season was in shambles. they had to overpay for their guy. Same way the Bucks had to overpay for their guy, like for Chris Middleton. But I think in the short term, they'll be okay. I think this is a long term, not a crippling move, but it'll hurt them in the long term. But I think for this upcoming season, I think it works. You still have Ben Simmons. You still have Joel Embiid. You still have Al Horford. You have Josh Richardson, who we even bring up, and he's actually an amazing player himself.
Okay, the cops come yet?
Why?
Did the cops come yet? Because we're still looking. I called the police. Because I'm looking for something. We lost because we just can't seem to find Ben Simmons' jump shot. Let him develop a jump shot first, and then put them as the number 1 seed. Are you serious?
Have you seen
when your best player, or top 2 player can't shoot past the mid range, can't shoot any threes? I mean, oh yeah, I know what you're gonna say.
NBA pickup.
You're gonna talk about did you see the offseason move? He was doing his 3-pointers. Do it in the regular season first, and then come back to me.
Hey, listen, he's taking his time. He's working on his game. His jumper, I believe, this season will be serviceable. I think he's not going to be a good jumper by any means, but I think you can't leave him wide open. Ideally. I mean, look at Rondo. Rondo's not a good shooter, but you can't leave Rondo open. And if you do, I mean, he'll shoot 36%.
You're comparing him to Rondo, and that's basically...
It's Rondo versus Big Rondo.
If you're comparing him to Rondo, my argument, I don't have to talk. My argument's done there.
You're actually crazy then, because Rondo's an amazing player.
I still think they're overhyped. You're losing J.J. Redick, who's a veteran. That veteran leadership he has, and he's a marksman. And you're losing the jump shooting. He's someone that you really needed to put alongside Ben Simmons. You should have re-signed him. And just because of their shortcomings, of those losses in this coming season, I just feel like they have to be number 4. Now let's go back to my standings a little bit.
Okay.
I gotta explain the Milwaukee Bucks because people are sort of like they're not really being talked about as much as other teams in the NBA right now. People are talking about the Los Angeles Lakers with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. People are talking about the Clippers with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. People aren't really talking about? It's the Milwaukee Bucks. Listen, they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, and it was their first time in the conference finals. First time really make a deep playoff run. And now they have that under their belt. They are ready. They retained basically mostly everyone besides Malcolm Brogdon. And because they brought everyone back, they are hungrier than ever. GM John Horst, he wanted to bring everyone back because this team, they knew that they had a huge shot to win the NBA championship last season.
They did.
But now they are all there's a fire lit under them. And they're going to go in, they're going to work. They're going to come in every game, and they're going to win. And now the Toronto Raptors aren't, Kawhi Leonard, he's not in the East anymore.
Kawhi.
There's no obstacle anymore.
Giannis is probably the best player in the East now. So
now the Milwaukee Bucks are going to come in, they're going to steamroll.
See, I have no problem with the Bucks as a first seed, but, the loss of Brogdon can't be understated. I mean, come on, he was their 3rd best player, and the efficiency that he did so was ridiculous. 50-40-90 club, that's a very exclusive club, Not many people get into that club. I think that they are hungrier than ever, and I do think they have good coaching. I think they have good defense. I think they have good offense. I think if anything, they do better in the regular season than the playoffs because we saw in the regular season they made the first seed 60 wins. I mean, playoffs they weren't even too bad themselves, even though they got 4 games in a row. It was the Toronto Raptors against Kawhi. I kind of give them a break for that. I just don't know if they could do it again. That's my thing. I don't know if they could do it again. That loss hurts.
Milwaukee Bucks?
Yeah.
Why?
I think they could be 2nd seed, but I don't see it happening again. I think people know Giannis. They're doing more research on Giannis. Obviously, we all knew who Giannis was.
Here's my thing.
But game plan. You saw how people game plan against Giannis. You put a brick wall and hope that the shooters miss. And that worked for the Raptors 4 games in a row. Not everyone has everyone has the personnel of the Raptors, but that's what they did. Giannis would go into the paint and there'd be 3 or 4 defenders ready to jump him every time.
Well, listen.
That's my
another point I want to get to because you're just talking about, Giannis, all you got to do is stop Giannis and it's over. But I wish it was that simple, but that's not how it is. What John Horst did last season was he surrounded Giannis with jump shooters in all positions. Marksman.
That was smart.
Brook Lopez, over 7 feet tall, and you just see him, splashing threes. I mean, he's cheesing. One of my favorite players to watch, Brook Lopez. Chris Middleton, another amazing, phenomenal shooter. And then you look who else they have. They have an amazing jump shooter team around Giannis Antetokounmpo. So it's easier said than done, Giannis Antetokounmpo, obviously great, all around, defensively, offensively, can drive to the rim in the paint at will. And I just can't wait to watch this Milwaukee Bucks team, and that's why I have them number 1. Now let's look at the other standings that we have. Number 3, it looks like we both have the Indiana Pacers.
Okay, good. Glad we can agree on something.
Malcolm
Can we agree on something? Why do you think the Pacers will be so good this year? I mean, the answer is obvious. Certain someone's coming back, but Oladipo.
Of course. Well, of course they're getting Victor Oladipo back, and going into the regular season, last season, they had really high expectations. Victor Oladipo goes down halfway into the season with a season-ending injury. Very upsetting because they had such high expectations. And then now you're adding Malcolm Brogdon, like you said before, a 50, 40, 90 guy.
Awesome
the IQ he brings to the court, really smart guy and great shooter. He's obviously previous rookie of the year. So you add him, who's a great perimeter shooter. He's gonna space the floor out for Victor Oladipo. And then, of course, you have Miles Turner inside the paint.
Exactly, yeah.
And, of course, you have the brilliant head coach, Nate McMillan. Knows how to get the best out of his players.
He's a great coach.
There is a reason why, when Victor Oladipo went down, the Indiana Pacers, they didn't just wait there and give up.
No, they stayed around.
No, they stayed in. And that's because of the culture that he, put into that team. That he really willed the culture onto that team. And because of that, the Indiana Pacers are going to be number 3.
Yeah, I like the Pacers a lot. I think they'll be a great regular season team. I think even come playoffs. I know this is not a long time ago, but I think 2018 when they took LeBron to 7 in the first round, Pacers have a lot of talent, and they're greater than the sum of their parts. You look at that coaching, and the coach and the defense, they all just work so synergistically. I like how Broward works with that too. What more business terms?
No, that's good. And then let's see what else we got here. So you have the Magic above the Heat and Brooklyn. So So basically, Sauce has the Orlando Magic above the Miami Heat and the Brooklyn Nets, where I have the Miami Heat above the Brooklyn Nets, then the Orlando Magic. So, Sauce,
okay. So
what makes you put the Orlando Magic so high?
Okay, well, I think the Magic, like we're talking greater some of the parts. I mean, you got to look at. I think the Magic is a same kind of scenario. Same kind of example. You look at all-star center Vucevic. I can't say his name. Vucevic.
Nikola Vucevic.
Another Nikola, who's a great center. I think that he's an awesome player. I think he's greater than some of the parts as a team. I like the Heat a lot, actually. But you kind of look at the supporting cast. I like the Jimmy Butler pick a lot. But you lose Hassan Whiteside. You lose Josh Richardson. Spoelstra's a great coach. I think they signed him to a long-term contract. Great for the future of the thing. I don't think it happens this year. I think maybe next year they might get a new free agent. They might pick up someone maybe through a trade this year. I don't think it's happening this year. The Nets, now, I might have put the Nets a little too low because, they still have, they lost D'Lo, obviously, and they don't have KD for the season. But you still have Kyrie. Now, the only reason I'll put the Nets that low is almost cultural reasons. I think our talent, not cultural reasons, chemistry reasons, sorry. You kind of look at what happened last year with the Celtics and Kyrie. We found out that he went through a lot of hard times, with his grandfather. So, I don't think anyone should really hold it against him. But, this happened before. It happened with the Cavs. You saw there was issues with the Cavs. He had to leave the Cavs, demanded to trade out. And then now we have problems with the Celtics. We don't know if the same thing's going to happen with the Nets. I don't think KD and Kyrie are the best combo in terms of, mental fortitude. You look at KD and, he obviously has his own insecurities. You look at Kyrie and he seems to be unhappy where he goes. I don't know if it's going to work. Talent-wise, it could be at least a 5 seed, even without KD. But I think it's going to be some woes going into the first season.
Okay, well, let me start off with what you said about the Miami Heat. All they have is Jimmy Butler. That's BS. First off, I do want to get to Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler has had problems with previous teams, and the underlying reason is always because of the culture. Jimmy Butler, he prides himself on being the hardest worker. I remember, when he was on Minnesota, he was saying, look, the best player all around, the best talented player is Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins has the most talent. The best player is Karl-Anthony Towns. The hardest working player is me, Jimmy Butler.
And he'll be the best player.
And look, yes, exactly, because hard work pays off. And he's had trouble in Chicago, and Minnesota, and then Philadelphia. But look, Miami, that is a match made in heaven. Him and Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra, he's going to fit there perfectly. He's going to be the perfect leader. Miami Heat, they were lacking talent before. They were lacking that star figure. That's why they were always good. They were always, mediocre. They were stuck in mediocrity. They were basically the lower end of the playoff, seeds to, not being a playoff team. They were on the cusp. But now you add an all-star in Jimmy Butler, who makes every team better wherever he goes. You look at the Philadelphia 76ers. Look what he did for them in the playoffs. He paid dividends there. Remember a couple years ago when, once upon a time, he was on Chicago and they were playing the Boston Celtics and They were like the
were
Bulls were very low.
Yeah.
And they were up 2-0 because of Jimmy Buckets. You bring him to Miami, they also have a supporting cast of Ben Amadeo. I think you're forgetting who they have also. Gordon Dragic's still there. He was an all-star last season. So you're forgetting these players. And the Miami Heat, what's great about Eric Spoelstra, the beauty of him, is that he gets the most out of, his players, all of his players. He sort of reminds me of Rick Popovich in that regard. I'm not going to put him in the same category, obviously, for obvious reasons, God forbid. But
Greg Popovich.
Miami Heat definitely deserves some respect. Now, we look at the Brooklyn Nets. Look. The Brooklyn Nets don't have KD. You brought up KD. They don't even have Kevin Durant. So let's not even talk about that. I understand what you're saying about Kyrie. There's relevant, cause for concern.
Yeah.
Obviously, he had trouble in Cleveland.
Right.
Then he went to Boston, and they had a great chemistry all around, like sort of similar to Brooklyn Nets. There were a lot of flourishing players, and then Kyrie goes there, and the whole thing breaks down. All the attention goes from, everyone, the team, to Kyrie Irving, and that can happen in Brooklyn. However, when I look at Brooklyn, this feels a little different. It feels like Kyrie learned when you have a situation like that, a disastrous situation, you learn, you take notes. What went wrong here? What didn't go wrong here? When he went to Boston, he was so angry at LeBron for trying, for always babying him. But guess what? He gave LeBron a phone call later in that season and said, "I'm sorry for always giving you a hard time." He's grown.
That's good.
Going to Brooklyn, where that was his childhood team. That's his blood.
Yeah,
that's where he lived.
Right
so he's going to go there and he's going to embrace that team. That's his team. That's part of his identity. Like that Brooklyn Nets team. And because of that, I feel like he's grown as a person. That's his team. And he's going to treat everyone there. He has a lot of respect for them, respects the culture. He went there for cultural reasons. Remember, he rejected my New York Knicks, my beloved New York Knicks, Suffering Knicks fan, we're not getting into that right now. I'm going to get all the press and everything.
Yeah,
like we always do. Okay? But, obviously Brooklyn, you don't have Kyrie. Spencer did win. Look what he did.
He's great. He's great.
Joe Harris winning that 3-point contest. That's how
46%.
And then of course Jared Allen, which defensively, he's just astounding.
He all superstars.
Him and DeAndre Jordan, that's gonna be fun. To watch DeAndre Jordan get to mentor him.
Yeah.
So I have the Brooklyn Nets being number 6. They're not gonna make it past the second round of the playoffs this upcoming season. However, this is gonna build the foundation of the chemistry, and it's gonna ease the transition of adding a superstar in Kyrie Irving. So when you add Kevin Durant later on, Kyrie Irving will already be incorporated into the Brooklyn Nets.
Definitely agree with that. I think it's almost a blessing in disguise that they don't have Kevin Durant, because they're going to have a time to have Kyrie work with everyone else. He'll be integrated in the system, and then it's a lot easier to integrate in one superstar than two at the same time. I really do hope you're right. I really hope that Kyrie has learned, and I hope he's grown. I mean, I wish the best for him. I think he's a very nice guy. I think he's a little misled sometimes. And I think if he does so, they really do have a good chance of being, really good this season, 6th seed or so.
Another thing that I saw is that you have the Boston Celtics number 5.
Yeah.
I have number 2.
Okay, so let me first, number 2 is...
Make this a little quick and then we'll go on.
Okay, first let me tell you the teams I have in front of the Celtics. I have the 76ers for the Celtics, the Bucks, the Pacers, and the Raptors.
You spoke about them. Wait, the Raptors?
The Raptors. Now, okay, we've talked about the Bucks and 76ers. I mean, I'm surprised you don't even have the 76ers about the Celtics. I like the Celtics this season. I don't love them. I mean, everyone's talking about, 67 wins last season. Clearly that didn't happen. The talent is there. They still have Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. We already know everyone. They have Marcus Morris. They have, they have a great lineup of people.
Marcus Morris is in there.
Right, my bad. I got fact checked. Cut that out. But regardless, they have a great team. Obviously, Brad Stevens is a phenomenal coach, top 5 coach. I think that they have a good team around them. They got, no more Kyrie. They have Kemba now. People are saying Kemba would be better. He'll be pass the ball more. I really don't see it that much. I mean, Kyrie is an amazing player, and Kemba's also a really good player. But he's not as much of a distributor as people think. You look in. I mean, this is clearly not NBA basketball, but you look at the NBA. Or not the NBA. Sorry. You look at the Olympics. Kemba was kind of very hesitant to dish the ball out. When other people were hot, he was hesitant to dish the ball out and kind of distribute that. He was willing to jack up a lot of shots. And it's Kemba. They normally go in. Don't get me wrong. And you're gonna laugh because they had Isaiah Thomas and Kyrie before. Not known for their distributing, but honestly, I think they have that ceiling there. But Jason Tatum, what has he done in sophomore year? He hasn't shown much improvement. He's actually got worse. He's taking those Kobe turnaround fades. He had too much time practicing with Kobe because clearly he's not taking efficient shots anymore. They have the potential to be like a top 4 seed, but I don't see it happening. I mean, okay, I know I'm going to clown from the Raptors over them, but I think they have the potential, but I don't see it this season. I don't think Kemba's that much of an upgrade over Kyrie, if an upgrade at all. But go off.
The reason why I'm laughing, Sauce, is you brought up the Olympics to try and invalidate Kemba Walker.
The Olympic
but
counts.
you failed to
vision.
look at last season. You didn't even look at last season, but you dare to bring up the Olympics.
Up the Olympics. You can't go with the Olympics.
I am absolute.
Okay. What about last season? What about last season?
Okay, listen. I'm not gonna bring up the Olympics. You know, Melo did really well a couple years ago in the Olympics, and look what happened to him. You know, I'm not gonna roast. No, this is the last one, the most recent one. I'm not roasting. I love Melo, my beloved Knicks. But look, talk to the Boston Celtics. Get back on track here, because I know
no more Melo.
Listen. When it comes to Kemba, when it comes to the Boston Celtics, last season they were played with the curse of Kyrie Irving. Where Kyrie Irving goes, the media attention is all on him. Kyrie Irving was the number 1 pick. Came from the prestigious Duke University. He's had pressure mounting to him for so much. So what happened was he went to the Boston Celtics, and that chemistry, like we talked about earlier, since he was there, he was the center of attention, and that took away from other players that were there. It took away from Jason Tatum. It took away from Jaylen Brown. So what happens now that Kyrie Irving is not there anymore, you got rid of the cancer on the team. You replace the cancer on the team with Kemba Walker, who is the exact opposite, maybe to a fault because he is so underrated. You look at Kyrie Irving's stats and Kemba Walker's stats, you put them right together, very similar stats. But obviously Kyrie Irving has more hype. He puts more pizzazz on his moves. Kemba Walker doesn't do that. He's not more of the pizzazzy type. Kemba Walker is more of, he's going to get it done. He's going to do what he has to do to help his teammates. He's going to get what he has to do to help the team. And he's going to help Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown so much, exponentially, so much more exponentially than Kyrie Irving did. Jason Tatum, once upon a time, when he was in the conference finals against LeBron James' Cleveland Cavaliers, and he had a game for himself. And Jaylen Brown also. So what's going to happen is Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, I know you guys all forgot about them last season. Now that Kyrie Irving is not there anymore, they are going to break out. Jason Tatum, I fully expect Jason Tatum to break out and become an all-star next season. And yes, that is a prediction for me. Jason Tatum will be an all-star next season. Kemba Walker is such a role model as a person. He is going to, off the court, that relationship is going to be huge. And you're going to see their off-the-court relationships dwell in on the court. And that's why the Boston Celtics are going to be number 2. Let's not forget the mastermind, Brad Stevens, is head coach. Obviously, he had troubles last season. There's a lot of controversy there. I expect Brad Stevens and the entire Boston Celtics organization to bounce off, have a bounce-back year, and become the 2nd seed in the Eastern Conference.
Not only do you have them second, you also have them ahead of the Sixers. That's what's crazy, and I want to get this straight.
Celtics always beat the Sixers. Celtics always beat the Sixers.
I want to get this straight.
Always.
I want to get this straight.
Did you not watch 2 years ago?
Sixers are a different team now. Also, I want to get this straight. Kyrie Irving was a cancer to the Boston Celtics. Yet the Nets will be okay to the 6th seed, but that's okay.
Because he's grown as a person. He's grown as a person.
That's okay.
He's grown as a person, and it's his own team. He cares about it.
It happens. I want to go back to the Kemba situation. Kemba is undoubtedly a great person and a great player. There's no doubt about that. He will be great for the culture, but at most talent, you're moving sideways. I mean, you're looking talent-wise, you're moving sideways.
Yes, here's the thing.
You're not. I mean, yes, you're increasing maybe the chemistry, but talent-wise, I still think it's a downgrade. But I could argue sideways at most, and it's still I don't see how they're getting that much better. I'm going to beat out the talent of these top teams.
Don't put words in my mouth. Did I ever say that Kemba Walker was more talented than Kyrie Irving?
No, you said sideways.
I said sideways. You said that's similar. On the court. You have to take into account all the off-the-court effects that the addition of Kemba Walker is going to have on the Boston Celtics in that locker room. It's simply basketball is more than just on-the-court activities. It also encompasses off-the-court things, and that's what you're lacking right now. That's what you're not.
True. I'm very court-focused person. To be fair, I will acknowledge that. I kind of only look at the extra notes, but to be fair. I just don't see them as the 2 seed though. That's just ridiculous. The 2 seed's such an over projection for them. I couldn't imagine them doing that well, especially out of how many struggles they had last season. I mean, if you want to talk off the court, that carries over too. I mean, they're hungry. I'm sure they're hungry, but so is every other team in the East. And additionally, those kind of failures that happened last season, they still carry over. It's going to take time for Tatum to get back in a groove, When he was almost, not a number one option, but when Kyrie was out and everything like that, he was doing well. He was getting in a groove. He was really doing well for himself. And now you have to go back to that after a whole season of being out of that with Kyrie. I mean, Kyrie took them out of that, and I'll agree with that. But, you have to get back into it as well.
Of course.
So, I mean, but I'll be interested in that. Like I said, I could see Celtics. I can see them like second round. I couldn't see them much more than that.
All right, guys. As much time as we spent on the Eastern Conference,
I didn't realize
we're probably gonna be spending even more time on the Western Conference because that's the exciting.
I have opinions about the West.
So let's take out our Western Conference standings.
Okay.
Obviously, here in my standings, I have the Clippers #1. Obviously, they're my favorite to win the NBA title.
Okay.
Followed by the Denver Nuggets, the Utah Jazz, Los Angeles Lakers, Golden State Warriors, Houston Rockets. Yes, Houston Rockets #6. Portland Trailblazers #7, with the San Antonio Spurs #8, beating out the Sacramento Kings and the New Orleans Pelicans for that 8th playoff spot.
Who do you have 8? The Spurs?
San Antonio Spurs.
Okay.
Let's hear yours.
Wow, that's crazy. Okay, well, we have a huge difference in this one because I actually have the Rockets as the #1 seed in the Western Conference. Which, I mean, Clippers I could forgive, but the 6th seed I can't. But I'll continue. Then I have the Clippers as the #2 seed. The Nuggets as the 3rd seed. The Jazz as the 4th seed. The Lakers as the 5th seed. The Warriors as the 6th seed. The Trailblazers as the 7th seed. And the Mavericks as the final 8th seed. So, I mean, we agree on the Trailblazers, I can see. We agree relatively on the Lakers and the Golden State Warriors. The Jazz both have the 3rd seed. The big difference is, I mean, the Nuggets are about the same, but big difference is you have the Spurs going in. I don't. And you have the Rockets 6th, and I have the Rockets 1st. I want to see the Rockets for a bit because I'm still compressing that. Can we talk about the Spurs for a second? Because why do you have the Spurs making the playoffs in the West?
Why do I have the Spurs making the playoffs? Answer's very simple, right?
Okay. I think the answer's 2 words, but okay. I'll listen. I'll hear you out.
No, it's actually a lot more than that.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm thinking.
But so actually, I know the 2 words you're gonna say. Greg Popovich, obviously brilliant, extraordinary head coach, has led the San Antonio Spurs. Ready for this? The 22 consecutive playoff appearances. 22 years of playoff experience. That culture that they have in San Antonio. We talked about the other cultures, in the Eastern Conference, why those teams, are going to be good, like, the Indiana Pacers. Mm-hmm. They all get that from the San Antonio Spurs. That's where all this culture stuff, this is where it all started. It started by Greg Popovich. With that. And as long as the Spurs have Greg Popovich, let's not forget, this season might actually be Greg Popovich's last season before he retires.
Yeah, it's getting there.
And so, culture-wise, they're going to be playing every day. They're going to be hungry, fighting, for a playoff spot. And, let's not act like they don't have talent. DeMar DeRozan, and LaMarcus Aldridge. This team they were on the cusp of eliminating the Denver Nuggets, which were, they were the #1 seed last season.
Yeah.
It was game 7 to eliminate the Denver Nuggets.
That is
so
true.
You have DeMar DeRozan. He's hungry. He just watched his brother Kyle Lowry win in Toronto.
That must hurt.
So he has a chip on his shoulder that he wants to prove something.
Right.
Then you have LaMarcus Aldridge. Of course, Derek. Let's not forget about Derek White. Derek White, in the last playoffs, a player that no one really knows about, but last year in the playoffs, he lit up. He had 36 points one game, I remember, on 70% field goal percentage. He's gonna, be a huge part in what San Antonio does this season. And of course, last season, we were hoping DeJounte Murray was gonna be playing. Mm-hmm. Obviously, he had his, tragic, season-ending injury. I think before the season even started, preseason.
Yeah. But he'll be back this year.
The roster they have, obviously there's so much other phenomenal, great teams, on the rise. The Sacramento Kings, that's my second team. If it's not going to be the San Antonio Spurs, if this is going to be the year, if it's not year 23 straight playoff appearances by the San Antonio Spurs, it will be the Sacramento Kings with De'Aaron Fox and Marvin Bagley and Buddy Hield, that trio. And Luke Walton as that head coach. That's the team to watch for, not the Dallas Mavericks.
Okay.
And guess what? I don't even have the Dallas Mavericks under the Sacramento Kings.
I
had the Pelicans under the Sacramento Kings. I figured. Which I think the New Orleans Pelicans, if they play with each other 1 year, and this is the second year they're playing with each other, they're making the playoffs. But chemistry is a fact. Chemistry plays a role. And because of the chemistry, Zion's rookie season, then of course Drew Holiday, everyone's hyping him up and not saying he's not a great player, but you gotta look for that. Brandon Ingram, you lost Anthony Davis, who was the biggest piece in the New Orleans Pelicans last season. So it's going to take time for them to develop the chemistry. Maybe if they have a surge later in the season, then they have a shot. But in the beginning of the season, it's going to take time for them to get acclimated to playing with each other.
Okay, just a quick note on the Pelicans. I would agree with that. I think they're going to start off a little shaky, and I think they're going to finish the second half of the season pretty strong. But it'll probably be too late at that point for them to make the playoffs. Out of all the things you said today, I have the least problem with you saying the Spurs will make the playoffs. I really don't. I mean, you're right. If I was a betting man, I wouldn't bet against this. 22 straight seasons, 23. I mean, it would make sense. And they do have talent, and I feel like I'm disagreeing with you at this point. But I think we actually also talk about the Mavericks. I mean, you look at the duo that they have, Luka and KP. I think they're going to be phenomenal. And I think that alone can honestly carry them almost. But then you look at the bench that they have. I mean, you have Seth Curry. You have the other Curry over there. I mean, and also they have a great stacked bench regardless. I'm blanking on names again. Should have done my research. But you look at Seth Curry by himself already. He did so much for them. And he did so much for the Blazers.
Yeah.
And that playoff series against his brother, actually,
Steph.
He had a lot of big plays, and he made a lot of big moves happen. I think he's great for the regular season. Very high percentage 3-point shooter. But, I mean, you look at kind of Luka. First of all, it's clear he's hungry. He wants to win. He has any intentions of tanking. Neither does the management. You already know.
Mark Cuban.
Mark Cuban. You know Mark Cuban doesn't like to tank. He likes to go for it, and they've been in playoff contention for the last decade. So respect for that. Mark Cuban doesn't want to tank when it's Luka and KP and Kristaps Porzingis. You are a Knicks fan, so you know how unbelievably good this guy is. He is 7'3", and he has handles almost like a point guard, okay? This guy's ridiculous. He can shoot, he can stretch the floor, he can bang down low, he can rebound. The biggest concern, the biggest concern, everyone's thinking it, injury. Kristaps has been injured so often. So often he starts the season unbelievably strong, looking like a borderline MVP candidate, and then he'll get injured or fatigued within 30 or 40 games. So I'm hoping that the Dallas uses a lot of good load management. They have a good enough bench that they can do so. I think Luka and KP pick and roll. I just don't see how that doesn't have top 8 in the West.
I don't disagree with anything you said, but why do you gotta make it personal? Why do you gotta bring up Porzingis, the Knicks fan?
As a Knicks fan, you know how good he is.
Don't put the Knicks into it.
Why? You've seen him. You see how good this guy is.
Don't do it to me though. Don't do it to me.
Also, if I was the Knicks, I wouldn't be that upset.
Don't personally attack me.
I'm not attacking you at all.
Don't attack me.
Okay, I'm not attacking you at all. I'm just saying how good Kristaps is, and you can attest to this. You've seen Kristaps
stop there.
bang in the post.
Okay.
You've had dreams of Kristaps winning that gold. See, that is personal. I wasn't personal at all.
I also had a dream about KD going to the Nets.
If you want to get personal, though, I mean, we could address
the Rockets,
because I feel personally attacked. But I mean, please tell me why you believe that if you 6, who do you have above it? The Golden State Warriors, who I'm strong in them, but over the Rockets.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Please explain. I want to know.
Okay, here's why I have teams like the Golden State Warriors, the Los Angeles Lakers, Utah Jazz, Denver Nuggets. I have these teams over the Houston Rockets for several reasons. Well, we look at the Houston Rockets. It's not that the Houston Rockets aren't talented. I'm not saying it's not going to work with James Harden and Russell Westbrook. It's not going to work with Russell Westbrook and James Harden right off the bat. If you expect these two players to be able to mesh during the regular season in 82 games and garnish a record of the top 3 seed, then you must be doing some really good drugs. Okay, Sauce?
Actually great
in the
drugs.
Western Conference, that is loaded. It is packed. We look at teams like the Golden State Warriors. Yes, they lost Kevin Durant. They lost Thanos. And they lost Klay Thompson, the marksman he is. And, that team, the Golden State Warriors, they have a similar thing. They lost a lot of key players for them. It's going to take a while for them to mesh. However, when it comes to the Golden State Warriors, their engine is still there. The engine didn't break. Steph Curry is still there. The unanimous MVP, 2-time MVP. Let's not forget the mastermind behind that Golden State offense. Steve Kerr. What I love about Steve Kerr is, he doesn't get enough credit. People are like, Steve Kerr's not a good. It's all the talent. How did they get talented in the first place? Steve Kerr literally combined a bunch of offenses. He combined Greg Popovich's space offense. He combined the triangle offense. He combined so many offenses together, and he utilized that to fit his players, his personnel, with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, the shooters they are. Let's not forget the other shooter they added, the other key acquisition, and D'Angelo Russell. He's going to fit in like a puzzle piece because Klay Thompson's not there right now. So he's going to be perfect alongside Steph Curry. Side note, if you're D'Angelo Russell, I mean, you really got yourself into a luxurious situation. He's getting paid.
Wow.
Let's not forget, he's getting paid. He's eating his lunch.
He's eating lunch and a half.
And he's eating like a lunch and a half. And he gets to play. He gets to be in the same practice arena as Steph Curry. He gets to see him practice, eat, sleep, be in the plane with him. I mean,
that's ridiculous.
Just an amazing fit for D'Angelo Russell, and
for sure.
That's why I just feel like D'Angelo Russell is going to plug in like Klay Thompson was.
Okay.
Defensively, it's going to be a little hard. Defensively, it's going to be a little tough.
Right.
And they lost, the Warriors lost Andre Iguodala, which, I have my little conspiracy theory. They're gonna sign Iguodala later on in the season. Watch. The Memphis Grizzlies are going to release Iguodala, and the Warriors are going to re-sign him. Just watch.
Okay.
And they lost Sean Livingston, obviously, too. But the Houston Rockets, Russell Westbrook is such a dominant force.
Yeah.
James Harden, another dominant forces. And I know they played together in Oklahoma City back in the day, where they were good there. They should have won a title there.
They really should have.
But
they really could have.
So it's going to happen. What I love about the Houston Rockets situation is, I know you're going to say this also. I know I'm talking a lot.
Okay. No.
Russell Westbrook.
I'm interested.
People say, it's not going to work with Russell Westbrook in Houston.
Mm-hmm.
I disagree. I think that Russell Westbrook,
Me too.
he's never had so many sharpshooters surrounding him.
Exactly.
He has James Harden, he has PJ Tucker, he has Eric Gordon, he has all these other players, Austin Rivers, all these players, high key, low key, they can all shoot the three. Houston Rockets, they're known as being the team in the NBA, one of the best jump shooting teams. And Russell Westbrook needs that. He's been dying, he's been starving for that.
Yeah.
So I think it's gonna work there. But like you said, all these other teams, they already have potential.
Yeah.
They gotta figure it out. Houston Rockets is too dominant.
It's hard to kind of judge the West because I think if you look at the top 6 teams, they're all absolutely stacked. They're all incredible in one way or another, And, I would agree with a lot of the points you have in the Warriors. I mean, I'm a huge advocate of how good Steph Curry is. Like, I think almost 2 times MVP is almost underselling how good he is and how much he does for that offense. I just really, really strongly believe in the Rockets this season. I just something about it. It's almost like a feeling.
I believe in it.
I can't escape.
I believe in them for the playoffs. They're both like statistical monsters.
Mm-hmm.
So they're gonna have trouble in the regular season. I'm not saying they can't make it far in the playoffs. I'm just saying in the regular season, based on their both their track record, Russell Westbrook's track record, I'm not committing to Houston above teams that are always surefire. Utah Jazz are always good.
They're always good.
But talk about consistently, the Portland Trailblazers.
Wait, I just want to touch on something for the Rockets first. No, that's okay.
I know I'm dominant. I gotta relax.
No, you're.
I gotta
You're like Russell Westbrook
and
James Harden. Wait a second. Was that planned? But okay. We've seen this happen before though, and we've seen this with James Harden and Chris Paul. Now, I don't think Chris Paul's as dominant as Russell Westbrook. I think he actually is a ball-dominant point guard as well. He's surprisingly pass first. Yeah, he holds the ball a lot. Someone like LeBron. LeBron passes a lot, but he also does have the ball a lot as well. That doesn't necessarily be a bad thing. But you look at James Harden, the whole offense is around James Harden having his hands. And that's why it works so perfectly. They're almost like the two, alphas going in it at different times. You looked at Steph Curry and Kevin Durant, where Steph Curry would be like, it's not maybe the best example, but Steph Curry would go at it for a little bit, then they'd have KD, and then you have Steph in the bench, then you have KD in the bench, and there's almost it's unrelenting. You always have some dominant, amazing top 10 player on the floor. Top 10 maybe it might be stretching it for Westbrook at this point.
That's good.
But I really think that they'll have that ability to constantly keep minutes staggered and really be effective. And if let's say Harden is much more effective with the bench, they can still roll at the bench. You can start with Westbrook and you can still roll at the bench and build a 15-point lead, and have Russell Westbrook to close out games. I don't even think that'll be the case. While you said the shooters, Russell Westbrook has never had as many shooters. Oklahoma City,
shooters everywhere.
Close, but the Rockets are just they're like the Bucks, and that's why I do like the Bucks because they have so many shooters that they can space the floor.
You didn't say they're overhyped?
They're overhyped, but I like them. I mean, I think they're only good. No, they're not only good. They're only so good because of such a good system that they do have. I think any other system without Giannis wouldn't be as good. But I think for the Rockets, I think he'll thrive in that system. Westbrook is such an underrated passer, and I know he holds the ball a lot. He holds the ball more than Chris Paul and probably even James Harden. But he is a very good passer. He's able to find the open man. He's, pick and roll. He's phenomenal in pick and roll. We already know this. I feel like they're both ball dominant, but they're both amazing passers. James Harden himself is an amazing passer.
I also want to note, I had the Houston Rockets number 7. The thing is, also, if you look closely to my standings, the difference between I think the West is going to be super packed. So like my win differential between the 2nd seed and the 7th seed is literally like 3 or 4 games.
Okay,
it's so close. Like, and it's a wild card. The West is like it's going to be
that makes me
a
feel
wild
better.
card.
Because I will say, I just want to look at last season. Last season, Harden had a lot of injuries to his team. Like himself, he actually didn't have a slow start. He was averaging like 40 points. But you saw he brought them to the 4th seed last season. Sans Russell Westbrook, and they were 1 game away from the 2nd seed. Like the 4th seed is actually a little, and the same scenario with the 6th seed is a little kind of not giving you the whole picture. Same thing with last season. They were 1 game away from the 2nd seed. Season before that, a same kind of thing. So, I think they have success in the regular season. I think they have a very good style for the regular season. I think they're able to have load management yet still be successful. I believe they'll be the number 1 seed, and I just think
they're gonna win it.
Number 1 seed, like for the playoff or for the regular season.
They're gonna win it though. Do you think?
I don't know.
So that's like quick thinking.
I don't know. Quick thinking. My heart kind of says the Lakers. I don't know. I don't want to bet against LeBron. And Anthony Davis. I'm just thinking LeBron AD pick and roll is ridiculous. And I think Dwight Howard's gonna be awesome for them. Clippers though are like right up there. Like if it's like 1A and 1B because the Clippers are ridiculous. And I put the Rockets at number 2. If it's 1A, 1B, and then 2, I put the Rockets right up there. Yeah. I think the Clippers are ridiculous. Kawhi and Paul George is just almost unfair. It's actually insane. And
I need to talk about the Portland Trailblazers. Okay, look, I ran into someone, summer vacation out. I ran into this person from Portland, and he said this. He said, "Listen, in Portland, we don't have religion, but there's a unifying belief that Damian Lillard is the unifying God. He is their God." And look, listen. Damian Lillard, he's always clutch. He's always there when you need him. The fate of the universe on the line. If you look at all the past performances, when they need him, he is there. He literally broke a team up. He literally broke up Paul George and Russell Westbrook in OKC. Okay, see you later. And then a couple years ago, against the Houston Rockets with James Harden and Dwight Howard, he did the same thing with 0.6 seconds left. 0.6 seconds left. Game 6. Boom. Over. Ended their life. Damian Lillard, look, I'm not calling him Steph Curry either by any means, but this guy is a warrior. I mean, he has limitless range, can shoot virtually anywhere on the court, had like over a 30% field goal percentage from like 10 feet over the three-point line. Yeah. I cannot stress enough how undervalued Damian Lillard has been his entire career and how he's embraced that, and that's something that like no one ever like really appreciates, but you know what? I have to say it right now because I love Damian Lillard. He is better than Russell Westbrook from what I've seen in the past.
At this point, yes. I think Russell Westbrook has a chance to overtake him, but at this point, yeah, totally. Dame time. I mean, come on, it's that time. Like we know how good Dame is. I think the crazy thing I like to think about sometimes is if there's no Steph Curry, we'd be looking at Dame like he was Steph Curry because he's pulling up from 40 feet, like you said. I think there's a crazy stat. It was like almost like 40-something percent, 47% from like 35 feet out. Like absolutely ridiculous. I love Damian Lillard. Now, some criticisms against him. You got to look at the Warriors series, but I have a reason for that happening. He was still injured. I think that kind of gets underlooked. He was not 100%. He wasn't injured. He had problems with his hip, but you got to look at the woes that he had in that series. Warriors, he had a very weak series. CJ McCollum definitely outplayed him, but I will say, I almost feel bad putting the Trailblazers at 7.
I feel bad also.
I feel bad because
you have
every season they get underrated and they end up being a top 3.
But you have to. There's so many teams.
But the West, every year they're ridiculous. But this year is absolutely insane. There's almost like 5 contenders in the West.
Do you have a team in the West any team that in particular that you expect to break out?
Break out. Oh, that's a good one. Off the top of my head, kind of like a team that's not in the top 8, or what do you mean? Like just a team that's going to surpass expectations.
A team's going to from last season they're going to completely jump. They're going to jump to a higher seed. I have mine.
I want to hear yours first because I actually don't have it right now.
Mine is the Utah Jazz. Easy.
Okay.
Donovan Mitchell. Obviously a phenomenal talent and. He's a very young player, and I expect him to break out this season. Go from he's already kind of he's considered a star. He's an all-star. He's going to be a superstar next season. Mm-hmm. You have Donovan Mitchell. Obviously they traded for Mike Conley, and Mike Conley pickup cannot be understated. Cannot be overstated enough because Mike Conley, one of those players again, no one really talks about him. he hasn't been an all-star somehow. I don't know how he hasn't been an
all-star
all-star.
4 times in the East.
Like he should have been an all-star 4 times in the
It's
East.
just the West.
Like you said, like if he was in the Eastern Conference. And not even if you look at Donovan Mitchell as a person and you look at Mike Conley as a person, they're both so humble and they both really hard workers. That culture for Utah, I mean, they really got gems in that backcourt with Donovan Mitchell and Mike Conley. And now you pick up, Bogdan Bogdanovic and Joe English. Obviously, you had already. They can shoot the lights out. They're going to space the floor out for Donovan Mitchell because Donovan Mitchell, you're not stopping him when he's slashing to the paint, to the rim. There's nothing you can do. And you have Mike Conley, the playmaker. They haven't really had a great playmaker.
I mean,
Ricky Rubio was decent, but he couldn't shoot.
But he was limited because he wasn't score first either.
Yes, now you have Donovan Mitchell, Mike Conley, which is one of the best backcourts in the Western Conference, and now you surround that with shooters, Joe English, Bogdan Bogdanovic, and Rudy Gobert, which he is hungry. I know he was crying because he wasn't an all-star, and he has a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah, I just want to add to the, you were just looking at the Jazz. You got Rudy Gobert. I mean, you just brought him up, but like
Eiffel Tower.
I mean, I think 2-time Defensive Player of the Year now. Absolutely ridiculous. I'm happy that he's getting credit for his defensive. He's getting his recognition because what he does on the defensive end is ridiculous. The percentage that opponents shoot against him, I think, was somewhere around 43%. He is absolutely a stopper. He's not super flashy, but my God, does he get it done? And he's really upped his defensive game too. He's never been an offensive superstar, but if he could get you some points, I think it was like 16 points and around 50% shooting. If you can get that, that's all you really need from him because he brings the defense. And on your point with Mitchell, I think that Conley would be so good for him.
Perfect, man.
100% in the chemistry and the culture and stuff like that. But even like more so almost with the on-court, the impact. Donovan Mitchell had to do a lot by himself for these last 2 years. He was doing a lot of the creation himself, and that's why you look at his shooting percentages and like, oh, they're not so good. He's not terribly efficient because he's creating for himself. People don't realize how much harder it is to create on the floor versus take a shot and have a catch and shoot, or have someone else create for you. Because he would have to be the person that they give the ball off to when the offense was stagnant and be like, hey, get us a bucket. We need a bucket. Because even with that, they're already a great team. And now you up their offense that much more while retaining that good defense that they have. I mean, they will be scary. And like I said, I have them in the 3rd seed. That's very high up.
Yeah, that's the thing that's going to surprise a lot of people in the West.
Yeah.
Even though, we're talking about Houston Rockets acquiring, Russell Westbrook, and we're talking about the Clippers acquiring Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. Utah Jazz, they're a quiet team. No one really talks about them. They were sort of remind me of what the Portland Trailblazers were a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Until now they're going to see, Donovan Mitchell unleashed,
I think
it's fun.
Yeah, they're just all those flashy players. But like, you look at the actual construction of that team. Dan Snyder, amazing coach. Like, you
Quinn
just
Snyder.
What?
Is it Quinn Snyder?
Yes, it's Quinn Snyder. Damn, I'm off my stuff today. But you look at Quinn Snyder, amazing coach too. I think he was up there for actually coach of the year. I think he was like top 5 voted. But yeah, I really think they'll be great this year. Whoever faces them in the first round, I don't know. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. Yeah.
Now, another quick question. We're gonna go off. A little off tangent here.
Okay.
With standings, but we have the Denver Nuggets. Obviously, I have Denver Nuggets number 2. You have number 3. What do you need to see out of them to make you think that they're gonna be title contenders?
I mean, I think what could happen for them to be title contenders is MPJ. Michael Porter Jr. is still on that team. I mean, come on, guys. They were the number 1 seed last year. Or were they? Yeah, they're the number 1 seed. They're the number 1
without Michael Porter.
Michael Porter. And Michael Porter was projected to be top 5 undersell. He was trying to be the number 1
pick.
He was trying to be the number 1 pick, and then he had injuries with his back. People don't want to take a flyer on him, fair. And then they fell to the 16th or the 15th pick for the Nuggets. And my God, I think that could push them over the edge because, like we already know, Jamal Murray is great, somewhat inconsistent, and if he could increase his consistency, I think that'll help a lot. Because he has games where he's like the next Steph Curry, and then he has games where he almost shoots the team out of it. He does. And you look at Jokic. I mean, he's amazing. I almost have the Joker. I have almost no criticism. People say conditioning. I think he could be better conditioned, but honestly, that fat, it reminds me of fat Kevin Love. It almost works. And he played that crazy 65-minute game they had against the Blazers. Yeah. He played, I think, the second most minutes. That was I think top 3 minutes played of all time in the playoffs. It was ridiculous, and he was on the floor the whole time. He looked a bit gassed. I think he could improve his condition a bit. But MPJ, I mean, my guy Bol was on that team too. They have these 2 high risk, high reward projects where they could be nothing, but they could also do so much for the team. I think if they both turn out, the Nuggets could be title contenders.
That's exactly what they need to do, though. They need to look for those, risk,
They
high
do.
risk, high reward. Because I feel like Denver Nuggets, they have a lot of good players, but they don't have a lot of extraordinary players.
Except for
Jokic is one of the extraordinary players.
Yeah.
The other ones, though, what's going on, guys? We had some technical difficulties.
Yeah.
Like one of the cameras died on us.
Battery
Besides me,
died.
But we were talking
We're back.
about. I believe we were speaking about the Denver Nuggets. So
Yeah.
what were we talking about Denver Nuggets?
Yeah, I was just saying MPJ and Bol. And you were saying
I was
they
saying-
have to take these high risk.
So you need to take these high risks because Denver Nuggets, they're full of mediocre. It's like it's very they have a lot of mediocre
They're good.
players.
They're good.
but
They're
they're
good.
not
I'd say
great.
mediocre.
They're not extraordinary. They really need that one
They're
superstar.
solid.
They need that one superstar to really put them over the top. And not that Nikola Jokic is not
I
a
would put him
superstar.
there, to be honest. I would put him
But
as
you
a
need
superstar.
someone to go to in the clutch, like a clutch scorer.
Mhm.
Nikola Jokic is a great player, but he can't be your go-to clutch scorer if you know what I'm talking
I
about.
think they do need like a score.
I think Michael Porter Jr. can
Could be
be
that.
that guy. I really believe Michael Porter Jr. Obviously ranked number 1 coming out of high school, was the best in his high school class.
Ridiculous.
And then obviously he had some injuries. He had underwent some injuries.
Back injury and
And
stuff.
You may go all the way down to what was he picked? 15,
15, I
16?
think. 15, yeah.
And trust me, Michael Porter Jr. Seeing how good that team
Talent-wise,
was,
he's top.
he's excited to get back out there, and he's excited to get back out there.
And the last point I just want to put on the Nuggets is I 100% agree with you that they have to go for these high-risk projects because they have so many solid players. They have so much depth. You don't need that anymore.
Yeah.
You have the depth. You need that top talent at this point. You go for the high-risk, high-reward. It's like your fantasy team's all good players. You want your Julio Jones. You want your Christian McCaffrey. You trade for them because you need those high...
Trade your depth, yeah.
You trade your depth away for those top-tier players. And honestly, they're effectively doing that by taking that risk in the draft.
I remember
love
last season I was saying, why not trade for Anthony Davis? Davis with Nikola Jokic.
My gosh.
Creepy.
That would be
But
insane.
this season, obviously, if an All-Star becomes available, Bradley Beal becomes available.
Bradley Beal was so
I
good
don't
for
know.
that team.
But keep it tuned for that.
I like that you said AD because I realized the whole time we're talking about contenders in the West and we didn't even bring up the Lakers. Now, what's your standings in the Lakers? How far do you have them right now? The 4th seed, I'm about the same.
Look.
5th seed
Let me
over here.
because I know some of you are gonna be mad. You're gonna be like, LeBron James is not the number 1 seed. He's not number 2.
Oh.
Not number 3. Listen. When it comes to Los Angeles Lakers, the regular season predictions, this does not indicate necessarily.
Strength.
It's not to correlate with playoffs. What's gonna happen in the playoffs.
difference.
LeBron James now is 35 years old. Anthony Davis.
Sad. He's getting old.
If you
man.
look at their age, at LeBron James' age, if you look at Anthony Davis' injury, past injury history, I don't trust them to be at 100% in 82 games in the regular season. If you compare them to the Utah Jazz is a young team with Donovan Mitchell. Denver Nuggets with their line, every player, all around performances. Los Angeles Clippers, that they're all around as well. The Los Angeles Lakers, they really depend solely on LeBron James and Anthony Davis.
Yeah, they depend on one
And
on the top.
Again, Anthony Davis' injury history and LeBron James' ageness, he's not going to want to play, 20, 0 dark 31 activated mode. He's not going to do that in the
Why
regular
should
season.
he? Yeah.
Why should he? He's going to do it in the playoffs. But look, obviously the talent speaks for itself. You have LeBron James, you have Anthony Davis, and now you have Kyle Kuzma. They signed Danny Green, which I love Danny Green. 3-and-D player. He was a great pickup.
Yeah.
I still don't know what's going to happen there with the point guard, Alex Caruso, or
Yeah,
LeBron.
I think if you don't think that, if you think there'll be a top 3 seed, and you're thinking about like a LeBron-led team in the last few years, I think you haven't been paying attention. LeBron, for good reasons, is going to coast in the regular season, as I think he should. I think the Lakers not being a higher seed comes down to 2 words, both off and on the court: load management. Okay, LeBron's going to take rest games. Anthony Davis is going to take rest games, and even when they're playing, they're not going to go 100%. Every game, they might slack a few games. They might slack on defense. We saw everyone was like hating on LeBron last season because how little he tried on defense. And actually he had some good defense stats, actually. But if you look at like those kind of things where Kuzma pushed him to play defense. Come on, the dude's wide open. What are you doing? They had to push him to play defense. They're going to coast a bit, and that's okay. LeBron is thinking bigger than the regular season. He's thinking playoffs. He's thinking titles. He's chasing Michael Jordan. Okay, if he drops 35 on the Nuggets, that doesn't help him in the MJ argument.
Again, if
a title helps him.
Look, if LeBron James really wanted to win season MVP this season,
He could.
he could do it. That's not his goal, and that should not be his goal.
It shouldn't.
His goal is to win the NBA title, and that's what it should be. You think about the Warriors a couple years ago winning 73 games.
What happened?
Obviously, their goal was they want to win. Have the most wins in a regular season. And they did it. They won 73 games. And what happened in the finals? It got back to bite them.
Yeah.
So LeBron James knows this. He knows that he's not immortal. Despite him being a machine, compared to other NBA players, the athleticism that he has, and now how healthy he is, he knows he can't last forever. And that's why also acquiring Anthony Davis was huge because now that option, now you have someone else you can go to, scoring wise, you can pick up the load in the regular season.
Yeah, and I think that 73 win record won't be broken for another 25 years. Not because it's not possible, but because teams have seen what happened to the Warriors losing in the finals, and they don't want that to happen to them. If they could get 74 wins, they're rather going to get 67 wins and rest, or 65 wins and rest, because they see what happens. And this is the same mentality with the Lakers. And even outside of LeBron, you look at the roster construction, okay? It's more like a two-king system, similar to LeBron and Kyrie, actually. A lot of systems have this with LeBron. Almost LeBron and D-Wade, but they have Chris Bosh.
Westbrook and KD?
Yeah. Well, rip. But
had to bring it up.
You look at that, though. That's great for the playoffs. In the playoffs, you have your top 7, top 8 rotation. You close it. Depth is not as important. But the regular season, that's almost exclusively important for getting a high standard, a high season standard. But yeah, I think they'll be a great team come playoffs. I personally have them 1A for the championship. I don't know where you have them kind of ranked.
So you
1A, 1B.
Sauce has Sauce seems to have Sauce seems to have the Lakers, and I have the Clippers. So we have that LA crosstown rivalry there.
LA drama over there.
And
But I could really see the Clippers too. I mean,
it's gonna be close.
It's gonna be close.
I see both
two in the top 3. I mean, even the Warriors are in the mix. I think the 2, maybe 2B. But now we're just doing A.
We'll see what happens. I just feel like the West is really stacked, and those are our standings. Those Western Conference standings. We got our Eastern Conference standings. How do you guys think about that? Let's see, I want to hear your reactions. Yeah,
let us know your standings. If anything we had was foolishness and stupid.
Did we miss a team?
Did we miss a
Zion?
team?
Pelicans #1?
Pelicans is possible.
All right.
Hornets? No, not probably Hornets.
So for our last segment, we're gonna close up, some fantasy advice. Help you guys out for your fantasy football teams. So Sauce, let's hear the scoop on the fantasy.
Okay, so let's talk about fantasy because this is one of my favorite topics. I actually feel great talking about this because last week in fantasy was ridiculous. People have been talking about how crazy fantasy has been this season, but last week took it to another level. To my knowledge, I might be wrong, but to my knowledge, this was the first week that 5 players scored 40-plus points. This week has been ridiculous. Will Fuller, the number 1 point leader this week, 53 points in PPR. Absolutely ridiculous.
I've never seen that before.
I've never seen that either. The last time there was a 50-point performance was Julio Jones last year. Or 2016 actually. Oh my God. But or maybe it was last year. Whatever. Regardless though, fantasy's been crazy, and you have to look at your lineup. I personally sat Will Fuller, which was I still was a week, so it's not all bad. It's not all bad. But you look at fantasy, and I think kind of the most interesting thing is the emergence of these pass catching running backs. You look at sometimes if you're playing PPR or half PPR, the value of these pass catching running backs is ridiculous. Christian McCaffrey scored 47 points, and that's still it's an amazing game, and it's still I'm almost not surprised because that's how ridiculous some of these players have been. You look at fantasy, you got to look at who to start. Obviously, you got to look at kind of defensive and stuff like that. I think if you're looking at the Falcons, start any offensive player against the Falcons. Falcons let up 53 points, I believe, to the Texans. That's where Will Fuller got his 53 points.
Who's Will Fuller?
He is
the Texan guy, right? Texas
receiver.
Sorry.
So he is a great player when healthy, but usually he's not even started in most leagues. He was started in 10% of leagues last week because I think he has a talent, but he gets 6 points a game.
So basically, it's not necessarily that Will Fuller, what's his name?
Fuller.
It's not that Will Fuller is going to be an all-star, a breakout player. But it's more like if you have a player against the Atlanta Falcons, you have a wide receiver playing the Atlanta Falcons, you better start them.
Now,
from Sauce here first.
You heard it from me. If you're against the Falcons, if you're against oh my gosh, the Miami Dolphins or the Redskins, you already know this if you do any fantasy. But the Miami Dolphins, I got Chris Thompson against the Dolphins this year. If you play daily fantasy, pretty good pickup actually.
Somewhat
undervalued. But yeah, I think fantasy's been great this year. It's been a lot of fun. Make the playoffs, don't be afraid to make that trade. You might have Saquon, but you gotta make the playoffs first,
See, no.
Because he's still injured.
My problem, I tried to take Saquon Barkley over Christian McCaffrey and I'm just saying, more nightmares,
That hurts.
And it's too bad. I have so many nightmares in my life. I'm a suffering Knicks fan, so I have that. And that's huge.
Saquon,
I dream about KD going to the Nets, and then I dream about drafting Saquon over Christian McCaffrey.
Though before the season, no one could blame me for that. I will say that. He was either the first pick or the second pick. So
it's tough. That one's tough.
That was a tough, but it happens like that. Don't be afraid to package your studs. If you have Saquon and you're 0-4 and you need to make the playoffs. If you're saving Saquon for the consolation ladder, it doesn't matter. You sometimes have to draft. You have to trade and try to get these players in order to make the playoffs. If I have Saquon, I'm looking at someone like Cooper Kupp, maybe Marcus Goodwin. I'm looking for players like that who are great players. Receivers who are absolutely killing it. But people who have those players are willing to trade that for a stud, especially if they can make it the playoffs in the first place and then they'll dominate the league. But yeah. I'm sorry to hear that.
That's very good, but I'm still mourning, but
it was fair.
I'll be okay. All right, Sauce, pleasure having you as always.
Of course.
Thank you guys for watching. For more content, check out our YouTube channel, BTV6. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.